Were you guided here by kindly Miquella? I am Leda. And like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm, and you too will be transported to the realm of Shadow where Miquella the Kind now dwells. My compatriots are there already. Like us, they have heard kindly Miquella's call. If you can find them, they are certain to lend you aid.
With these inviting words, we get to enter into a new world, expanding the already gigantic story we have been digging through for the past couple years. Having finished the DLC recently, I just wanted to give some thoughts on how intricate this story continues to be. Often, things get more convoluted the bigger they get, but this is a specific example of intricate attention to detail. Miyazaki continues to impress me with an evolving understanding of the narrative he presents to us in an already intricate world, with an expansive lore. But I think one of the biggest reasons this offshoot feels so organic is because it is a much more focused tale. Not to say there are not several alternative stories to find within this offshoot, but we get to see more of an explanation of the branching pieces of the larger Golden Order timeline in the form of Miquella. From the onset, we see how his ability to enchant people affects individuals from many backgrounds. The core of your conflict is to get closer to the root of his mission. We find that even the circumstances that led to Miquella coming to the Land of Shadow was not a result of a capture against his will, but an intentional puppeteering of his family. I cannot really speak to whether Melania followed his will of her own accord, but the fact that Miquella's journey to godhood is enforced through his power to force fealty recontextualizes most of the timeline related to the younger family members of the Golden Order, and gives us a more complete look at Queen Marika's godlike control, and how that is living on through her child. Godhood is in and of itself a curse in the lands between. We see this in the undying nature of the Golden Order. We see it in the chaos of the frenzied flame. And we see it in the most raw way in Miquella's loss of personhood. He literally sheds all elements of his mortal self, including his vacillation, meaning being able to change his mind. His personhood is shed to gain complete control. And ironically, the peace that he strives for means taking the vacillation of all living beings. The side of himself that is cast aside is manifested in Saint Trina, and her words are the reason you must succeed in stopping Miquella.
Miquella, stop. Don't turn the poor thing into a god. Godhood would be Miquella's prison, a cage divinity is beyond saving. You must kill Miquella. Grant him forgiveness.
This forcible peace that he is trying to accomplish is compelling in a broken world like the Lands Between, and even his blind followers see the world as being better for it. But we can see that obstacles put in the way of opposing this peace actually turn the world into a more dark place. Marika proved this with her lineage. Many would go on to commit the sin of blasphemy, maybe to spite the Order, or maybe to explore some other form of meaning, and others would not even submit to blind fealty, and recognize strength as a virtue to protect the freedom of the Lands Between. Perhaps this is what pushed Godfrey away, in the face of Marika's self-aggrandizing marriage to herself in the form of Radagon. Maybe his being banished wasn't due to Marika's lack of need for him, as much as it was about his claim to leadership through strength. That makes it seem even more logical why he would return to claim his place as Elden Lord after the obvious fall of the Golden Order and the burning of its symbol and source of power. Miquella's motives imitate this fall from grace that Marika embodies. Marika takes on the power of the Elden Ring to build a family and a legacy, but eventually sacrifices her family in the pursuit of absolute power. Miquella befriends and cares for his siblings and values the concept of a gentler world, even wishing to have his brother become his aide in pursuing this goal.
Promise me you'll be my consort. I'll make the world a gentler place.
According to the Golden Epitaph, he even prays for his brother Godwyn to have a true death after the soulless, zombie-like existence he is cursed with because of his sister Ronnie. Add having a sister that is cursed to rot forever, it makes sense that he would pursue whatever means necessary to gain the power to craft a world in his own image that follows his will. However, in the pursuit, he has lost himself in the vision of love, and creates a monster out of what was originally goodwill. His attempt to do this originally, however, would be rejected by Radahn. Because of Radahn's admiration for Godfrey and his need to defend the lands between from the threat of the stars, he refused to be a follower of power void of liberty, like his lord, and saw protecting his kingdom from the control of all-consuming power as a virtue. We learn from the young lion's armor that Melania's last words to Radahn in their battle was, "Miquella awaits thee, O promised consort." But he was too powerful for even a warrior as strong as her to force him into submission. This, of course, leads to a forced parallel version of Miquella's plan to have a consort, but to bring in an era of his godhood this time. Using the body of Mohg, he creates his own Radahn, and even tries to extend his manipulation to you, the tarnished chosen by grace, in the midst of being defended by this abomination. At the end of the day, though, it is the one with humanity that must rule. The uncontrollable lust for power over the will of others is in sharp contrast to being an example of strength that earns the respect of one's followers. This is also paralleled in the character of Mesmer, a force of blanketed destruction appointed by Queen Marika. He is a conflicted soul, looking for love himself in the form of his mother's approval. But even he looks for an external source of strength. He is separated from the Golden Order due to his pursuit of blasphemy. But him being used as a tool to cover up the even greater sin of Marika in her past is yet the even stronger example of the abuse of power, the abuse of godhood. The story of Elden Ring is compelling because it is a story of love and family, and how when that love is lost, it turns into the most nightmarish of divisions. The concept of compelled love makes so much more sense because of this DLC, and the fact that it all comes back to the land of Marika's origin is a fitting exploration of the offspring that most resembles and tries to emulate her warped majesty. It is truly tragic that we know that it wasn't always that way, though. Miquella used to be someone who truly loved his family. He valued the kindness and strength of Radahn in a more pure way. He stayed close to his sister in the midst of her suffering, and helped her mitigate her pain. He had a lot of humanity to cast aside, as we see scattered all over the land of Shadow, and we can see through him that even his mother cultivated family out of at least some form of collaboration with these virtues. Marika was chosen to lead in a new order that was supposed to be a shining golden example to all, that strength and family were worth following, but selfishness and pride crept in. The deification of one's own values will always be a force against the freedom of others. Elden Ring teaches us that no king or queen should be a god, and that leadership is to be earned through the will. The greater will, if you will.